Hello all, and very good. Wish you a very good morning on a Thursday morning. Welcome to VMware Digital Workspace Workshop. We are delighted to have you this morning. This morning over here with us, and we are glad to have a chance to speak to all of you and take you through the journey of the workshop as well. Yeah. So we have a few housekeeping rules, not a lot to bother you, very simple ones. The moment you join, you will be automatically muted. You can ask questions during the workshop in the box, and I will moderate all your questions to the speaker. Slides and the recording of this session will be shared with you after the webinar. A thorough question and answer session will be at the end of the webinar, so you can also save your important questions towards the end so that the speaker can give you enough time. Followed by, I'll quickly start with an introduction of our company, which is AspireNXT, what we do and who we are. So AspireNXT is a digital transformation company. We are based out of Singapore. We're headquartered out of Singapore. However, we have customers across the world. Because we are centered out of Singapore, that means that is Singapore's home for us, and we have a lot more customers in APAC, and now we are expanding into the other regions as well. Over the last 10 years, we have built a phenomenal, yeah, thank you. Over the last 10 years, we have built phenomenal relationships with customers across ASEAN, Europe, and Australia. And now we are slowly expanding into the US region as well. Um, so moving on, in terms of our competencies, we have VMware Master Services competencies in digital workspace, and our work proves that we have helped multiple customers in virtualization over the last 5 and 6 years as we have strengthened this relationship with VMware. Um, Moving on. Yeah, with that, I will not take away much of your time, and we will start this workshop. Let me introduce our speaker to you today, Anshit Arora. He's a cloud specialist who has helped multiple customers across the world and continues to enable AspireNXT VMware team to help build solutions for more customers as well. With that, I will just pass it on to Anshit and let him introduce you to himself to you all. Anshit, over to you.
Thanks, Visha. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Morning, all. I hope I'm audible. Right. Nick, you can move to the next one. All right. Guys, so today we're going to talk about Workspace One Anywhere, not just about any organization, but there are multiple MDM solutions that we have nowadays. How exactly is it working? What benefit is it rendering to every client who actually tries to get into it and understand why exactly we are managing the endpoints? Not because we are working from home, but I think from 2020, this moderation or change, or I would say a variation that has happened, it actually has helped many clients to secure their devices while they're sitting at home. Employees who are accessing data, even if there's a threat, it actually helps. And I think it doesn't bother anybody in total because admins would be able to have more control over the devices, which is why they are able to secure their environment and would also help I would say the users just by sitting at home. So yeah, WFH has actually worked because of this, I would say. So unified endpoint management, it itself tells that yes, it's going to manage the endpoints in such a way that's going to protect the particular, I would say any device. Let's suppose the platforms that we access could be Android, iOS, MacBooks, Apple TV, so it covers it all. Most of the devices that we're going to access at work, I think every organization allows users to make use of them. The one thing that I actually think of is Windows whenever it comes to my mind, the OMA DM agent, the client that we make use of. How exactly this AirWatch agent that gets installed to the Windows system, how exactly it integrates to the Microsoft device that we make use of. What registry values does it create? What exactly is it going to do in event viewer? How exactly the OMRDM client actually helps the device to get enrolled from the backend? What services are working on it? So this is what we're going to talk about today. Moving forward, I would also like to let you know a little about how exactly this workspace when unified endpoint management functions. It is actually two sort of environments that VMware provides. I would say one of them is SaaS based and the other one would be on premise, wherein a client would actually have access to all his servers, the console servers, the DS servers that they're going to create, the load balances that they're going to have in their organization, how exactly they'll have to open the set of ports and what exactly needs to be done while these ports are or the IP addresses have been added to the load balancers and how exactly we make it function. Other than that, the SaaS-based environments that I'm going to talk about. So the SaaS-based environments would actually help the particular environments wherein administrators would be able to access the CN number and through it they'll have a URL to access it anywhere, anytime. The number of devices that they're going to manage, they'll have to make sure that they're all enrolled, regular functioning of these devices, how exactly it's going to go through. So this is how it actually functions. Now, what exactly happens under unified endpoint management is that it's segregated under 8 modules, I would say. Apple is one of them, Android, Windows, wherein we're going to manage all of them. There are RUC devices as well, I would say, Windows RUC desktops. And more to it, it's UAG, Unified Access Gateway, wherein you actually can secure your content that you're allowing the users to access. You also can block the URLs. You also can enable URLs that you would like the user to have access to. There are a set of whitelisted and I would say not just the whitelisted URLs, but there are server traffic rules and device traffic rules that we create within UAG. And there are two sort of I would say modes that we create. That's one of the basic mode and cascade mode. How exactly it functions, I'm going to give you a brief of it. And SEG, that secure email gateway, wherein if you're not using Office 365 or any sort of on-prem server that actually helps you regarding your email services. So this is one of the secure email gateway service that would actually gonna help you access your email. And there's one of the applications, I would say, VMware Boxer, that you can make use of, or every employee of the organization that can make use of and can actually help employees to access the emails on a number of devices as per the restrictions that you're going to set in your organization. Other than that, we have there's authentication services, the IDPs, SAML, Okta, even the third-party IDPs are also available. So just when you authenticate, or if you have integrated Azure AD or any other, I would say, service to your or cloud to your workspace one, then it also helps you find those particular services available, and IDPs helps you authenticate it so that there'll be more trust. Now, this actually tells us how exactly the Horizon Cloud desktops, if you have VDIs in your environment, how exactly they're going to work. The virtual desktop infrastructure that you just have, I would say, a real image, but it's just an illusion of how exactly the devices are, how the desktops are working, what changes will they make, how exactly can we communicate. So yeah, that's where it is. Moving forward, talking about this platform, there is not just endpoint security, not just device, or not just one security of managing it, but there's more about understanding how exactly it's a kind of competitive market where we all live in. So we understand how exactly product functions, what benefits does it provide, what custom service profiles that we can deploy. The reason why we actually wanted to choose a solution, I think it actually is about the competency. The more it's competent in market, it helps us understand that yes, this is what we want. Not just we, but our organization. Before enrolling into any of the products, we understand the need of it, that why exactly we should have it, what changes will it gonna make, or how exactly should we be enrolling into it, so that every discussion or every question or every change that's going to happen within the environment will actually help us know that yes, this is the particular MDM solution that I actually have thought of, or I actually have anticipated that I'm going to use in future, which will going to help me enroll and access the number of devices without knowing that yes, considering the bugs of the products there, I won't say that this actually shows a lot of, I've actually personally used it wherein things that I actually have seen, every service that I'm getting, I'm understanding every service, how exactly it's working. Bulk processing services, just when you push 5,000 I would say profiles on 5,000 devices just in once, it's very obvious that we can't expect that profile to reach in just seconds on 5,000 devices, but it's also possible to have them in few hours. That's actually one of the things that I was able to find. So bulk processing service actually lets us know what exactly is the process. Moreover, the device enrollment services, the DS services, how exactly are they working from the backend? They let us know more about what the error is, how exactly is the functionality. The ACC, Airwatch Cloud Connector, that helps us about these directory users if we create if you have any on-prem or if you have set it up in our environment, how exactly it's going to sync the users, the certificates that we're going to push to our devices. It all reaches through AirWatch Cloud Connector that we're going to set up on a member server or one of the servers that we create within the environment. Now, other than that, I would say the products that we make use of, Carbon Black, Workspace One, I already talked about, SaaS environments, Horizon Cloud, what exactly it provides. Now, talking a little about Workspace on UEM, starting from Apple, there are multiple ways to enroll an Apple device. I would say, when I say Apple, there are multiple platforms that we still can discuss about. iOS, what exactly we can do, hub based enrollment, web based enrollment. There are multiple enrollments. I would say almost 4 to 5 kind of enrollments that we can follow. There's automated device enrollment, that's also called DEP. Other than that, Apple configurator that we can make use of, hub-based enrollment, staging user enrollment or multi-user staging enrollment. So these are the functions that actually allows and enables us to make use of multiple enrollment methods that helps us enroll either a corporate or a personal device that the user would like to make use of. Next to it, Android devices also has similar kind of, I would say, hierarchy that we follow. That is corporate dedicated, that's corporate owned, personally enrolled. Other than that, devices that we're going to enroll is the personal ones. Just while we enroll them and we actually get the work profile on our devices and we make use of it, understanding the role of that particular device, that why do we need that particular MDM on our devices just when the user is managing it. And not just that, there's more to it. If we do not want the MDM to be there, there's MAMV policies that we can make use of. That is mobile application management without enrollment. That means every device or every user that's going to be a part of the or XYZ organization, the users would actually be considered for that particular policy that we're going to push. And just when the users would actually get that policy, doesn't matter what application would they be actually accessing, if it's actually bundled or if it's actually packaged, we can make use of it, just like Microsoft Teams or I would say Outlook. So user would be able to, admin would be able to protect any of the information that they're going to access, not just by enrolling it, but even if it's not enrolled, the users are actually secured accessing it on any of the devices. Just when we enable this feature of mobile application management without enrollment. This is actually an integrated service from Microsoft. That's exactly how we make use of it so that we understand that yes, this is actually what we want, and actually allows users to make use of different platforms even when they do not enroll the devices, but they still would be able to access those services or those I would say those applications when they actually want it. So these are SaaS-based applications. Also, I would say software as a service-based applications that they can download, that they can make use of, that they can actually access whenever they would like to, and they also can, I would say, get into online platforms, and it varies that if it has been enabled for the web-based applications as well, so that just when they open it and access it with the user credentials that the organization has provided, the policy takes impact and actually protects the data that they're going to access by restricting some, I would say, the basic rules of policies that we're gonna set up in MAMV, that is not allowing or allowing copy paste, backing up the data into iCloud or not, or any other place, OneDrive, I would say. So these actual features would going to be one of the reasons why it actually protects the device, not just the device, but the organization data as well, from any of the threats that could come in because of an employee. Moreover, understanding the requirement, I would say there are segregations within an organization wherein we try to understand what kind of demand is it, how exactly an organization would like to set up this workspace on UEM or any other MDM solution that they're going to set up. There is a set of requirement that they actually share that yes, this is what's required. This is how the organization set or level needs to be. This is how we're going to follow it. Or we also can segregate it on the basis of the level of hierarchy, who's superior, subordinates, what exactly is required, what policy should function on this level, how exactly it's not going to function on the other levels. The sub OGs that we can create, that's organizational groups that we can have within the smart groups that we're going to add to our console environment so that we can understand these particular smart groups, what they're going to do. How exactly are we going to consider them? Is it user based or just device based smart groups that we're going to create? And enabling these policies and set of rules that actually sets up these smart groups that we actually add to the set of policies or the profiles that we're going to add. Other than that, I would say sometimes when we set up these security policies, when we set up the particular environment from scratch, it helps us understand that yes, this is what's required, or it actually gives us a lead that yes, this is what the environment or the user is expecting, or I would say one of the administrator is expecting us to do. Setting up the environment from scratch doesn't only allow us to help them build or getting to know the knowledge of how exactly these console servers, DS servers, and database of SQL will gonna work, but there are more queries that actually helps us rewrite or I would say edit the database as well according to the needs of the organization and the administrator who has been liable to set it up. It helps us get in contacts and we set it up in such a way that they will be able to understand every feature of it, that where exactly are we putting these UAGs and other stuff that we're going to add. In Windows also, I would say there are 8 sort of enrollments that we actually allow the users to enroll it. Doesn't matter even if it's an on-prem device, there are directory accounts that they can make use of. We can sync the users. We actually provide them access to multiple applications that VMware has, not now, but they have been making use of it from a little while. So we get to know about tunnel functionality. That's a part of UAG. I should have, I'll talk about it a little later. Meanwhile, about this functionality that I was talking about, setting up an environment or an on-prem environment that we're going to set up, what exactly it helps an administrator to understand is what rules would be there while a console server, or how exactly DS and console and database is going to communicate. So what exactly happens from the backend is that to understand this database that we set up, how exactly database, the SQL database will get to know that yes, there's something for the device that needs to be pushed on the device. Just when we make a command from the console, I'm going to take an example for an iOS device. Let's suppose we want an iOS device to have sort of applications that we have already pushed from the console. Now, what console server will do is just when we make that particular application or we push it or we assign that application to a specific device, it's going to shoot that application to that particular endpoint. That's iOS in our case. APNS is also one of the communication mode that's going to communicate with the console. Without the communication it will not going to help. So what exactly happens is communicating with the this APNS service, it actually helps the iOS to know that yes, this is what the console is trying to say, that yes, this application needs to be pushed on me. Now the device is actually trying to find what my identity is. Where will it go? It actually considers the DS. It reaches out to the DS that there's something I wanted to know, that is there an application named this and this with this application ID needs to be pushed on me. Am I the right person to reach out, or am I the one who should get this application? At the same time, DS actually gets in contact with the database because console server and DS server both gets the update from the database. So before console shoots any command, it actually updates the database about it, that yes, there's something that I have in for this device ID and this application ID for this user. or I would say even if it's a kiosk device, just the device ID and the application ID will function. So at the same time, when the DS reaches the database confirms from the console if this is the correct device ID and the information that they've provided. And at the same time, the database updates the device that yes, there's an application inside, and it actually gets pushed on the endpoint that we make use of. And that's exactly how these applications and the things that we are trying to deploy, doesn't matter, it's a profile or anything that we're going to make use of, actually reaches the device, and that's how the task gets accomplished. Now, more about the actual users who have been using VMware Workspace ONE UEM services from a long time. I won't say just the Workspace ONE UEM services, but Horizon Client, VDIs, the NSX services. So it actually helps the user or the administrator or the organizations know more about us, that yes, how this product functions, what exactly it has to protect our organization, and how does it manage to manage the devices, and what exactly will it gonna do just when we try to manage them from, I would say, different endpoints that we're gonna manage from just one solution. That's what Workspace ONE is all about. Understanding the functionality of the Workspace ONE is not just knowing that yes, this is what it has, but there's more to Workspace ONE. Whenever we try to push any application, whenever we try to push a profile on the device, it actually tells us every day that yes, this is what it has in it. And updates. Now, I think it's something that I should talk about UAG. Just when I say UAG, that means protecting the content of particular users and setting up the, I would say, the device traffic rules, the set of rules that actually reaches the device through the mode of tunnel. If I'll talk about an iOS device, if I'll talk about an Android device, tunnel would be the best functionality. So this tunnel, what exactly it does, it actually provides, I would say, a pathway or a gateway that actually protects the particular information or the content that user has been allowed to access. There are a set of repositories that you or an admin would be allowed to set up for the users, that how exactly should it function, how exactly we're going to push it, how exactly we're going to allow the users to make use of it. So the number of times you're going to push this tunnel profile on the devices, be it Apple or iOS it is, even if the Windows would like to consider it, there's a way to make it happen. But this tunnel profile actually considers all the settings to protect the data or the content that, or the repositories that the admin has actually provide access to the users, not just the end users, but any organization user who has access to it would be able to access it through Workspace ONE content application. But the data would just be protected once we make use of tunnel application, so that we know that yes, this gateway that's actually working. Now, I also talked about the basic mode and the cascade mode. What's the difference is, there are two UAGs that we set up in cascade mode because there's a front end and the back end. In the front end, we have this feature that we make use of. There's the endpoint server, and there's how exactly they cascade with endpoint server, how exactly they cascade with the endpoint, how exactly they cascade the information from the incoming gate, and how exactly they provide the access. In this case, what do we have in the DMZ zone? What do we have in internal zone? How exactly are they going to provide the access, or allowing that particular information to be used by the user? So there's a different functionality by setting up two different unified access gateways on the front end and the back end, and the DMZ zone, what exactly is there in DMZ. And the basic cascade would just have, I would say, the front end, wherein the endpoint and the information would just be allowed, and within the DMZ, the internal services would actually be able to work and function, so that there'll not be much hassle that the user has to go through, or anybody who's accessing it would actually be able to access the rules and the information that they actually would go ahead and get into would be easier to access. Talking about the benefits, how exactly we deliver it, what changes, what exactly the market has to offer from last 3 years, I would say, is that this device based info, or I would say the user based setting, or any policy that we're going to push, it varies, that either we're going to push it on the device or either we're going to push it on users. It's similar in every platform, I would say, not just one. That is about how we want this application, or how we want this particular technology to function. wherein there are settings that we make use of just when we want the device to be in picture, wherein we push applications, wherein we push policies, wherein we push profiles just on device, considering that yes, device based services would be better and helps us understand that yes, what exactly can help and what exactly is required, understanding the base of what exactly is there. So that's what it is all about. Now the zero trust that I also should have talked about. Just when an employee gets into the device, logs in with his credentials, be it its directory or its basic, if you do not have directory or AD that you've set up within the environment, what exactly you want is a change within your environment, and what exactly you have is about the access of these endpoints that they're gonna access through that particular setup. If I'll talk about the setup, just when you log into that particular device, be it it's iOS, be it it's Android, be it it's Windows, or any of the platforms that you're gonna access, there will always be a directory or a basic account that helps the user get into the device. Just when the user gets into the device, he gets to know that yes, this is the kind of profile that's gonna be deployed on me, or a user account, or I would say a device profile that's been set up for the kiosk devices wherein users would be able to access it. So it varies that what kind of profile or what kind of information we're going to access and what policies are being pushed, either it's device based or user based. Now I think there's a little I'm going to present so that once I'll demonstrate it, it'll be better to understand. Just give me 1 second. All right, so here we have this console. I just am going to let you know how exactly these OGs gets created. What exactly can we have within the OGs that we access, and what changes will it make within the organization, and how exactly we can have sub OGs, we can have level of OGs that we can set up, how exactly we can configure the policies, we can configure the settings that we have within this. So the first thing, it's actually about the devices that I'm going to show you. Where will you find them? Just 1 second. Let me take you to the top level. So this is what it has. These are some of the platforms that we are going to enroll within the Workspace ONE endpoint. How exactly it's going to function. Let me just access one of them. How about that? This is PYOD. Okay, it's a corporate dedicated endpoint. So this is how we're going to set up the compliance. There's a compliance policy that we make use of that has three default restrictions that the user must be assigned to that policy that you're going to access. Other than that, there would be the access to the particular user, if the user exists within the compliance that we're going to set up, or is it just deployed to a device. So it varies. If the conditions of the compliance will not be fulfilled, that means user will not be able to access the policy in any way. That's what compliance actually helps us set. And if I'll take you to the compliance policies directly, there's one of the carbon black status that it is letting us know if there would have been a device which already would be assigned, then it would have shown what the status is, if it's non-compliant, if it's pending, if it's assigned, or if it's not assigned. So there are changes to it, and that's exactly how we're gonna push it. I also can inactive this policy if I would like to. The edit rights are no more. So exactly, this is how we actually create compliance policies, and we also can list them. We also can activate them. Considering the compliance never gets enforced on the devices. Compliance is actually related to the policies that we're going to set. And later we're going to tell that, yes, this policy that we deployed is actually being used by the user in such a way that keeps the device compliant. If it's not going to keep the device compliant, it actually tells it what it's going to do. So this is how it actually functions. So it tells us that yes, this is how this policy functions. And if the device is actually compliant, there's a grace period as well that actually tells us that yes, we can make use of it. And if the compliance will not be met within 30 days, the device goes under non-compliance and will not have access to the resources anymore. That's how it actually functions. Now, the other thing that I'm going to access is to let you know about a little settings. Just one sec. Think I'll have to change the OG. Okay, that's the console. So exactly, we can set up the application information as well, wherein if you want to deploy it on iOS, there are Workspace for an Intelligent Hub application that once the device gets enrolled, it's not mandatory to have it on the device. It varies if you want to push it on the devices or you don't want to push it on the devices. Other than that, we have resources. As I talked about a little earlier, we can actually push the applications the way we would like to. These are set of examples that we have set up for a few applications, I would say. It actually tells us the status of installed, uninstalled, or pending, I would say. So this is how it actually considers the platform and checks if this particular platform is applicable for this application to be pushed, or the version that we are actually pushing is valid or it isn't. Now, applications just don't have just web links. There are native apps. There's more. There's, I would say, published apps, public apps and purchase program that is just for the VPP applications. I would say volume purchasing program. How exactly it's going to function is the VPP based applications are not the purchase applications, but it's a license that we require from one of the, I would say, the Apple Business Manager portal. So the link to it is business.apple.com. Just when we sign in with an administrator ID and the password. Now, this also requires the DUNS number. If you actually have created it with Apple, then only you'll have access to it. Adding those devices from a reseller, how exactly we add them to it, the reseller ID gets added. Moreover, there's more information that we put in that is related to the organization ID, the Apple customer number, so that we can actually get the purchase program apps for the devices that are actually getting enrolled to device enrollment program. Apple configurator will not consider them. We also can push public applications and purchase applications. And internal apps would just be the basic. What exactly is just the, I would say, the APK files for Android, the IPA files for iOS that we can push, and yeah, APPX as well for Windows. Now, a little about the profiles that how exactly we can create. For Windows, the actual concern is about the Windows because most of the environments would like to secure their Windows devices because that's exactly what the question is, that how exactly it's going to protect our organization and what profiles can we push that are going to make it a little better, what will help us understand. The first thing is it has n number of custom profiles that we can create just by this. Now, I also have talked about VPN profile. VPN profile we create for tunnel, wherein we push this particular VPN profile to that specific device wherein you're going to access it, or what you're going to do upon that device that you are accessing. So this VPN profile once get pushed on that specific endpoint, does it matter it's Android, iOS, or Windows. Once it reaches the device, it actually lets that particular profile function in a way that every server traffic rule or device traffic rule that has been set up for the devices, which is the other name would be DTR or STR, it actually takes effect on the devices and doesn't allow those particular URLs to be opened by any of the users on the devices just by setting up just an example. We put 2 stars and we add that particular URL of anything starts from this particular domain or anything starts from that particular website is what it's going to protect. So that's how this VPN profile functions for the set of endpoints that I told you about. Now, what else do we have is about Chrome user profile that we also can deploy to every specific user. We can create configurations so that the user who is accessing the device will have the set of policies and the URLs that he'll be able to access. The rest we can block them all. The iOS policy for, and also the this multi-staging and I would say the single staging users that actually provision the devices before you ship it to the user. So let's suppose you actually are making use of the device and you want that particular device to be shipped to the user. So there's also a way to enroll it through staging accounts. There's a single staging account user, there's multi-staging account users. So it varies what user wants. Accordingly, it gets enrolled, and accordingly, these options that we actually can provide as per the privilege that the administrator would like to give to the specific user, not just one, but many. Now, device updates can also be pushed. If you've heard of it, the KBs, I would say there are two sort of updates that are available. That is feature update and the quality updates that we're going to push from the console itself. We can delay it if we would like to. We can defer it, wherein every update that we're going to push to the device will have a specific list that, yes, this is the time when we push these updates. When should this update reach the device? And the reason why we set up these device updates is honestly to delay it. That's what the purpose is. So every time we're going to set up some updates for Windows, I would say we want it to be on 2.1H2. The moment we want it to be on 2.1H2, the reason why we set it up because we don't want that now. We can delay it for, I would say, approximately 1.5 years. That's exactly 18 months, because the first 6 months of that particular feature update is actually a beta version wherein it gets under multiple tests. After 12 months, it actually gets allowed so that it could be used by the users that are going to access it, so that it will not going to bother, and will also allow these things to be accessed. That's what it is all about. And iOS update rings would also be there. I'll just take you through it. So we can create it, we can push it. These all are available. These all are there in the console. Windows updates, information, how exactly can we access it, and quality updates are mandated because it needs to be on the device and it gets released after every 3 months. It'll not be there. It'll gonna bother the device. And quality are actually the cumulative updates that are available for the devices. Wherein if it wouldn't be on the device, it may hamper the performance. Not just the performance, but it is also about the security of the device. So the quality updates that actually gets pushed to a specific Windows device, it's because this particular uh, security or a cumulative update, I would say, is actually about knowing that, yes, this needs to be on the device for this particular update. If any functionality gets hit, then the only reason behind it would be a cumulative update, or most of the quality updates wouldn't have been reached. And a little about script and sensors. I'll discuss about sensors later. So I was letting you know about the scripts, how exactly we push them from a specific on a specific endpoint, how exactly it's going to function. So let's just take an example of editing this particular script. That's to deem data. Obviously, this can actually be pushed. We actually have created multiple scripts right now for I would say for WSS servers, wherein the updates would not be possible for the devices, wherein it's just a use case that I'm discussing right now about the scripts, that how exactly we pushed it to the from the console to the device, wherein the devices doesn't have internet, but the open VPN is being used for those devices because they are at workstations, they are actually at oil stations. And the reason why we can't push those directly like a UEM update, or I would say a device update, because these scripts are actually being available on those devices. This WSys actually helps us to update those devices even if we can't do it from the console. And the first and the foremost thing would be internet. Beating it all, we actually want it to be on the device. If the internet wouldn't be there, then the only thing that we can do with the open VPN is to push a profile from the console that would actually help us get us the updates. So that is one of the things that we also can do. All right. Else, I think I should also let you know a little about this intelligent console. wherein you also can set up automations. If you want a particular setup to work in such a way that allows you to set the device just when it comes out of a stage, or if you have staged a device and you have set up an automation for that specific device, what it actually does is to prevent you from any kind of, I would say, the setup. Just when you do a basic setup for that endpoint, that endpoint would actually configure the automation configuration. So automation, what it's going to do is that you do not have to set things manually up. You can assign the devices to that automation. Just when the automation would be ready, you can push those particular or specific, I would say, devices. You actually can push those automation on those specific endpoints that you've selected, and just when the device comes out of box experience, it configures or it consider those automations or the automation configuration that we have already set up. Now, when I say automation configuration, what does it mean? Just when you're pushing a particular profile, you do not want every specific profile to go one by one. You want to push this, you want to push the second profile. You want them to push just by once. You've created an automation. You want things to be done in such a way that it would be considered under a specific OG. It would be considered under a specific profile. And just when you set up the automation, it helps you achieve the same. So the number of times you're going to push it, you will get to know how exactly it's going to function. And also about the automation, if I'll talk about it, what it does, it actually provides you a way so that you do not have to delay if there is a way to get things done as soon as possible for the production. It actually secures your devices in such a way that it will not bother, and it would actually give you a way so that you can create such automations for your users already, so that once they log in with a set of ID, or I would say the user ID and the passwords that you've provided to the users already, once the device gets shipped and gets delivered, it actually helps them to go through these specific endpoints, not just the endpoints, but the automation profiles. So the configuration options would just be there just when they'll make use of it, but they do not have to go through the hustle of knowing every profile that, yes, this is where it is. So the user experience will actually differ from the admin experience just when an automation will happen. So also can integrate it. Like if you want to integrate it with UAG and get the data, it's actually possible. Integrating it with UEM. So this actually tells us more about integration of intelligence, workspace ONE intelligence with the UEM, UAG, or any hub service that you have. Yeah. And other than that, I would say workspace ONE access. I don't think I have access to it right now, but yeah, this is actually about the endpoint. So yeah, this is also about the IDPs that you can push, the SAML authentication, how you're going to set it up. So access covers it all. It's a another name is VIDM. That's VMware Identity Manager. All right. I think we've shared some info already. Nick, you can share the screen.
Just give us a moment, Anshit, everyone. All right. So Nick, while Nick is trying to get his presentation back on, it might be delayed by a minute. He's facing certain issues. Anshul, we can take a question, take one question while the presentation is coming up. So far,
Right.
yeah. So
Yeah, I
if
would like all of
yeah.
you to shoot your questions. You can add it to the chat, or we just can answer it while if you can unmute yourself and let us know what it is. Yeah.
So please let this be interactive. Ask any question that you want. You can post it in the chat. We
All
have
right.
a question
Yeah,
from Carolyn Go. Does the solution have the feature to support multi-platform?
it does. Carolyn, you're very right. It actually provides you the feature to make use of multi-platform. How exactly it function is that this UEM that actually enrolls multiple devices. It doesn't matter what platform you're going to allow the user to make use of. There are set of restrictions that you also can deploy. If you want to allow these set of platforms to work, if you want let's suppose an iOS and a Mac OS to be allowed at the same time, that the user can have access to the resources of the organization. When I say the resources, that means the applications that he wants to use. Let's suppose Teams or Outlook or whatever the organization has actually allowed him to make use of. So these applications will gonna function on two devices or multiple devices at a time. So it varies what the restriction is, how many users or how many devices you want to allow to a specific user. Accordingly, this will gonna help you to know more about that. Yes, these are the set of platforms that the user should be able to access and should not be able to access, which would actually help you know that yes, this is one of the solutions that could help you make use of it at the same time. Yeah.
Thank you, Anshit. Hope, Karen, that clarifies. Any other questions? Any other follow-up questions? We'll give you a couple of minutes to think through. So, Anshit, in the meanwhile, I have a question.
Uh-huh.
What would be a perfect business case for this solution?
Exactly, it varies that how big is the business. If they just wanted to enroll set of devices that are minimum to 5,000, there are specific set of console servers and DS servers that we can set up for this organization so that we
Right.
can get to know that yes, how exactly will it work. Other than that, also understanding the needs and considering the platforms that they would like to make use of, be it it's iOS, macOS, Android, or Windows. It actually gives us an idea of what exactly the organization wants by knowing that yes, the need of the platform would be this, and these are the scripts that they would like to deploy, and these are the, I would say, the profiles that they would like to create. So it gives us a good hint about how these devices are and what exactly would the organization want to protect them, and what access would they like to leverage to the users so that they will be able to beat. I'm very sure that they do not want to allow the admin access to the users in most of the
Right.
cases. Wherein even if we allow it, there are set of restrictions that we still can deploy. Doesn't matter if the user is also an administrator to the device, just like autopilot, sometimes we enroll it. And we integrated with Workspace ONE that yes, the enrollment solution would be Workspace ONE UEM and autopilot functionality of enrollment status page, integrating it with the Azure AD and knowing how exactly this device would actually get enrolled from the backend about the DRS service and the DDS service. So registering the device and creating an Azure AD device ID. After the device ID gets created, it actually tells us that yes, this particular temporary device ID would be registered under Azure and would allow the device to go through the set of profiles consistency and would also go through the information of how exactly this DDS will gonna work is the directory service that consists of the profile of the device and also about this enrollment status wherein we're gonna push the applications and provision the device before it gets booted up. So if the device boots up with such applications and takes around 40 minutes after the user logs in and gets in contact with the Wi-Fi and connects it with the network, I would say, once the device gets connected, the user experience would all be different by the device provisioning feature. And once it would all be done, I think we are good to make use of the endpoint the way the employee or the user would like to. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Anshit. Anshit, we have one more question. And Noor is asking, which is better, Horizon or Carbon Black?
I think there's a bit confusion between Horizon and Carbon Black because Horizon Cloud is one of the, I would say, a VDI security, or not a security but a VDI, wherein virtual desktop infrastructure would be there, just like a normal Windows desktop that you can make use of. You also can access it. And if I'll talk about the Carbon Black, it's an endpoint security that helps us protect the endpoint in such a way by knowing the threats. I would say the basic analytics. engine it has, and other features that we discussed while we presented it. Don't remember the date of it, but we did. And this carbon black actually is more about just not protecting the endpoints, but considering more of the endpoints like Linux servers. We can add as many, I would say, as many endpoints we would like to. And installing the sensors would help us know what the current scenario is, how exactly is it working, what threats are getting in, how exactly is the malware getting in. So there are many features. One of them is EDR, uh, this detection and response, endpoint detection and response. Other than that, the sensors that we install, how exactly it's going to tell the VMware Carbon Black sensors will tell that yes, this device is actually is going through this or a particular process change that are going to be created. If there are any threats, the TTPs, techniques, procedures that we see. So there's a lot within VMware Carbon Black. And Horizon is just a bit different. As I said, it's a VDI wherein it helps us differentiate between how exactly it should work. Yeah,
Thank you, Anshit. Um, I hope now that clarified. If you have any follow-up questions, please post it too. All right. If there are not any more further questions, uh, we can move forward to the next segment. Please post your questions while we're in the next segment too. We would love to answer your questions. In case anything comes, we are happy to run by your questions at that time as well. So we have some great offers for you. I'll give it back to Anshit to kind of take you through.
sure, I will. So this is actually about the Carbon Black Endpoint Enterprise. There are three different versions that you can make use of. What it includes, it's all different to be honest. Endpoint Standard would just include EDR as I discussed about. Other than that, it also has a feature of identifying the risk by running a query. It would be Endpoint Advanced, that how exactly is it going to function. The endpoint enterprise would include not just identify risk, but it also has information about how exactly it's going to work. So it actually prevents it in a different way, that what it has, what information will it share. It has information about vulnerability of how exactly this or how vulnerable is it, and also about I would say threat hunting and incident response. So that means we can be ahead of the attackers by knowing or by doing the threat hunt. That means every time you're gonna access the incident response, you also can go through it and you can run a few queries that will tell you what the current situation is for the particular device or the endpoint that you're accessing. If there is any malware or a ransomware attack that is about to happen, you can take actions and can prevent it within your organization. And the managed detection, I would say managed alerts, monitoring, and triage. That is also about knowing a little how exactly these alerts would be a part. So these are some alert threads that we would like to see, understanding how exactly these alerts could come up. The next one would be about Horizon Cloud, as I discussed. There are dynamic environment manager standard advanced and enterprise is also another difference, as I said. So this would actually tell us about concurrent connections of vCenter, or I would say the VDIs that we're going to set up within our environment. We can do that. The center server desktops for different, I would say vSphere, vSAN. So this will all be included in advanced. And the last one would actually have thin apps volumes in Horizon for Linux and application remoting. That's all just it. And the last would actually be the bundle of UEM. What it has is intelligent access UEM. So it's not just one, but it has multiple. I would say information about how exactly the desktop is going to function, how exactly is this process going to work, how exactly is this particular uh, I would say the intelligence, how exactly the portal functions is what I showed you. That yes, it has automations that we can set up, the sensors that we can install. The UEM has information about every endpoint, doesn't matter what would it be, we can enroll it. Access has the IDPs that we can actually authenticate through, or I would say the third party IDPs that we can also consider. Example was an Okta or SAML auth that we can make use of. So yeah, I think that's exactly what it includes and provides info about. That's about it.
All right, thank you, Anshit. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. If you have any other follow-up question, please reach out to us. You will be receiving this presentation and the recording of this session in your email as well. Do reach out to us if you have any further questions or if you're interested in making or giving your employees a seamless experience. We are an experienced VMware partner, and we would love to build solutions for you as well. You will receive our coordinates to contact us also via our email ID, or you can reach out directly to me as well if you have any questions to me or Anshit. Yeah, happy to connect further. Thank you,
Thank you
everyone.
all.